Hello, this is Let's Talk About Myths, baby, and I am your host, as always, Liv. And today I'm here with another conversation episode, and the intro is going to be short and sweet because the conversation says it all. Today I have on fan favorite, the queen of gladiators and weird aspects of the Olympics, Alexandra Sills, and we are talking about Alexandra's new show, Ancient History 101, which is a fresh new show from the Memory Collective, and I am so excited about it. We had so much fun, and I hope you all go check out this new show because we're really excited to be bringing stuff that is independent and intentional and, meant to be accessible to all and appreciated by all. I don't know, we're having a great time. So come and check out that new show. You can find Ancient History 101 at any of the links in the episode's description or wherever you find your podcasts. Conversations. It's all Greek to me. Ancient History 101 with Alexandra Sills. I hate that my camera doesn't work. Okay, this is how we're starting it. To the listeners, I'm going to express my quick fury. You don't understand this because you can't watch this anyway because I never released the video. But normally we do at least have access to seeing the other person in these conversations. But not today because Anchovy Jr., the gremlin cross cat that I brought back from Greece, pushed a mug of coffee onto my computer and it broke my camera and also apparently the port that will accept a external camera. We're doing great over here. I'm an adult and I'm here with Alexandra Sills.
Hello.
Best known for gladiators, if I'm being accurate, but if I'm being my favorite thing, I would say you're best known for explaining to me how the men during the Olympics would tie their
I know exactly what you're going to say.
They would tie their business in a tight little bow.
The dog leash.
And I'll never forget that. I have absolutely shared that with a great many people since you told me. So
awesome.
Thank you so much.
If that is my impact, I'll be happy.
I should say, actually, this is a great time for me to point out, I believe, and I should have mentioned it to you earlier, but you were definitely the inspiration on one of the spreads of my Odyssey book, because we do a whole double page on the games that they hold at the Phaeacians,
awesome.
Before Odysseus tells his story. Yeah. And so we did a whole where like kids would like to know about, these games and the ancient Olympics and everything. So there's like a little, we have these little boxes that have extra fun facts. And one of them is that they would be naked and oiled up.
I'm so happy right now.
I was so happy to be able to tell children that the Olympics were originally performed not only naked, but also slathered in olive oil.
Yeah, with the little bow on their
exactly
ding-dongs.
that. Yeah. I didn't get that into the kids' book, unfortunately.
One day we'll get it into a book, just maybe not that one.
Yeah, exactly. I just think maybe that's for like when you're 15 plus. Seems uncomfortable for anyone to hear. In any case, I actually think that's the perfect way to introduce this conversation, which is that we're talking about all things ancient history with a specific reason, which is that there's a new show that we're going to talk about, but generally also, why would that was a whole, my brain going on a little walk, and then I came back to myself. How am I going to do that? Okay. Is that we're talking all things ancient history because there's a new show. Would you like to tell me a little bit about the show that is new and that we're talking about today?
So the show, it's a new podcast. It's called Ancient History 101, which kind of gives immediately the vibes. We're a back to basics show, going right back to the beginning. So even if you've never heard of anything from the ancient world before, you're not going to feel out of your depth because we're taking you right back to the basics with the essentials and then working our way up from there, which I
And you're
think
covering
is.
like everything. Sorry, I want to keep hearing, but I also am so excited about you're covering everything.
We are covering everything, mainly because I have such strong ADHD that I can't pick one thing.
It's
I've got
relatable.
decision paralysis. I could have done something on my own little areas of expertise, but that's really lonely, and I think I'd start getting bored of the sound of my own voice. So instead of that, and this is very selfish of me because I'm not at university anymore and I really, really miss lectures. I really miss chatting about the ancient world with experts. So, what I figured I'd do is instead of me just yapping on, I'll invite all of my very, very clever academic friends to come and talk to me. And I get free lessons for as long as the podcast lasts, no tuition fees. I get lectures for life, eternal student. Yes, that's the plan.
No, I love that so much. And I mean, obviously, I know what this show is because I have been hearing about it for quite some time now. But but hearing the way you described it just there, it makes me think of why I've kept up the conversation episodes as long as I have. And also simultaneously why the conversation episodes are like the place where I dive like completely from mythology, right? Because I
Yeah.
also I love when other people come on and teach me about those things, but I also am really specific with what I do or don't care about, and there are so many things that I know people would love if I talked about, but I'm not going to. And thankfully you are. And that's why they'll become obsessed with your show, where you're talking about a lot of the historical stuff that I won't touch, along with other just
Rome,
generally
essentially.
like, yeah, I mean, I really don't love Rome. But yeah, and I just think things that because you're touching on so many such broad topics, you're able to like really go, I mean, anywhere. I I want to hear about some of the topics you've already recorded, but I don't know if that's like throwing you too much in the deep end of like, I mean, do you have a favorite already? Do you have like a weirdest anything?
I
Or
mean, I
what are you
do
most
have a couple
excited
of
about?
favourites. We have such a broad selection of episodes already because what I
Yeah.
figured was, I mean, I've done 2 degrees now, and at the end of them, I thought, okay, I'm going to be an expert in everything, right? But there is so much that even 2 degrees won't cover. And I realized that if I wanted to cover all of it myself, I'd have to just go around every university in the entirety of Great Britain, just hoovering up degrees, trying to cover every play, every biography, every event, every
Well,
war.
yeah, when you want to know like everything instead of just the one thing to
Yeah.
specialize in, like that's when university becomes it's not really what you necessarily need if that's what you want. Like that's how I feel too, you know. I hear about, I think about doing an MA or a PhD and then I think but I'd have to be too specific and my favorite thing is like
Yeah.
how much I get to learn about everything.
And this is a really important thing, right? It's that every ancient historian, every classicist, every archaeologist, the higher you get up the academic path, the more you're expected to narrow your focus down. I
Mhm.
mean, I read about someone who wrote an entire PhD thesis on the word the in Greek. And the very thought of that to
Like
my little neurodivergent mind,
that's a nightmare.
horrifying,
Nightmare.
right?
Also, though, it because I do still have that little neurodivergent mind. Like in ancient Greek, is the just to? Toe?
No,
Do you know if it was that? It must have been more than that because, like,
no idea. I mean,
oh
as soon as I heard that it existed, I made a point
yeah,
not to search it out and find more information
yeah,
because why would you? So that's another reason why I'm doing that. I could go further and narrow my focus down even further, but that would be ignoring so much that I still want to know about, so much that I still haven't covered particularly. So why not do this instead? I get to
yeah,
cover everything that I want, and I get everyone to listen in as well as an added
yeah,
bonus. So it's very selfish of me.
yeah.
Really,
Well, and
really selfish.
I realize by the time that this episode airs, which because we both have ADHD, we only like talked in circles around before turning on this microphone. So we'll cover again at the end. Um, but you know, by the time this episode airs, we'll have already played your episode with Owen Reese on Xenophon, which is,
Mhm.
I think, that was a perfect place to start and share on my show, because it's kind of melding all of these different, I mean, it's Greek, but it's
Yeah.
also like the type of history that I never know what to ask about. Like, I'm so glad you're doing this, because these are things where I feel too out of my depth in order and to have them on my show. So
I mean, I think this episode with Owen is perfect, not just because he's one of my favorite people in the world.
he's delightful,
I
delightful.
I love the guy.
Friend of the show, been on 2
Don't
episodes to
yeah,
the listeners.
don't tell him that I said that because his ego will get big. But it is the perfect episode to kind of encapsulate what I want to do with Ancient History 101, because for a start, I think before you can read any writing from an ancient author, you really need to get to grips with who that author is, what they were doing, what their life was like, the context of what's going on around them. And that's what we're doing with this episode. Before we do any episodes on the Hellenica or the Anabasis, we're getting to grips with who Xenophon was, what he was doing, and how his experiences and beliefs affected what he wrote and how he wrote them and what he was trying to say, which is really interesting. And I think sometimes we forget to do that with ancient authors.
Absolutely.
So,
We forget too to like, I mean, I with Xenophon is a good example of something in this realm, which is that like we don't look at the timelines. We don't look at, I'm talking in circles, this
mhm,
is so bad. We don't look at like the when a person is writing in relation to when the events, or we don't always. That's something that is so easy to like get forgotten, you know. And Xenophon
yeah,
is one where it's like he's writing about the stuff he
that's
more
something that
directly
I'm
experienced.
really, really keen to kind of include,
Yeah.
because his whole biography is like an adventure novel,
Hmm.
which I don't think gets talked about enough. I mean, again, 2 degrees. I've done two, and we didn't really touch on Xenophon at all, apart from one piece which probably wasn't even written by him. So
Hmm.
it was great for me to talk about Xenophon with Owen, but it's going to be great for everyone as well to realize that there's this writer who's incredible and he doesn't get enough credit. And it's just nice to, shine a bit of light away from, military historians will know all about Xenophon,
Hmm.
but what Owen taught me was that he's so much more than a military historian.
Hmm. Well, that's great, because that's why I haven't been interested. And I will say that I have only 1 degree, but I also did not have any interaction with Xenophon,
Yeah.
except for, I'm sure, in my like survey Greek history course, but otherwise,
Well, this is the
yeah.
thing, because you can pay thousands and thousands and thousands and spend years at university, but there's still only so much that you can cram in.
Hmm.
So you've got all of this interest. If you go to university, you've got all of this interest, and you're not going to cover all of it. When you leave, you're still interested. Where are you going to find it now that you're not studying all the time?
Hmm. On a
You can
free podcast.
on a free podcast. And if you
Yeah. No
if you
more spending money in university.
oh my god, I am in so much
Or
debt.
you could do both. Both is fine if you really want to.
You can do both, but we're doing it for free. But also, if
Hmm.
you're unable to go to university for whatever reason, or you've chosen to go to university to study something that, I don't know, might actually get you a proper job with proper money at the
Yeah.
end of it,
But you also want to learn about classics? Here we
but
go.
you also want to, or you're a major in something else and you've just got this one class and you need to get some context pretty damn fast, then this is going to be a show that covers all of that. It doesn't matter who you are, your level of background knowledge, because we start every single episode with, well, who is this? What is it? Let's start with the absolute basics and just build up our
Hmm.
knowledge. It means that it doesn't matter if you've never heard of it. It doesn't. It's not going to affect anything. You're not going to feel
Yeah.
out of your depth. You're not going to feel intimidated. We're going to walk you through every single one of these topics. And by the end of it, I'm hoping that people who would never dream of picking up the Aeneid are going to think, yeah, okay, I do feel ready. I do feel like I can do this, and I'm not going to feel out of my depth, because there are some of these books. I mean, some of the texts, the primary sources, some of the history books that have been written about them, they can be pretty scary. They're
Oh,
big,
yeah.
dense language, loads of stuff that you feel like you have to know to make sense of all of it. So we're going to be there with everyone right from the beginning, walking everyone through it and teaching you how to do it so you don't get scared.
I love that. And okay, so other like I don't want people to think that we're just talking things dudes like Xenophon because, interesting guy, I'm sure. But like military historian.
Yeah.
So yeah, like what I mean, I know I've seen the list, but thankfully I don't remember them all immediately. But like how wide ranging, like what are the some of the topics that you have coming up? The fun thing is too, like listeners behind the curtain, we have been talking about this on and off for like a couple of years now and been trying to get this
Yeah.
up in the works. And I mean, there's been lots of different reasons, but this year or over the past year, Alexander's been able to put together a bunch of episodes and I've been able to offer podcast hosting, and so finally like here we are. But what that means is that there's so many recorded up front, which I'm so jealous of and I'll think about for the rest of time. So what are some fun things you have?
I mean, yeah, so there's a bit of military history because, again, this
We need
isn't,
that too, it's fine. Yeah.
because military history is something that doesn't happen often in school and university syllabi.
Mm.
It's something that there's a load of enthusiasts about, but
Hmm.
it's really difficult to get like a formal education in. No problem,
It's
we'll provide it.
also it's also something that could really benefit from having resources like specifically this type podcast, what video, whatever resources that are not by like bros, like military history bros.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure that there's a time and a place, but especially when it comes to military history, like that can lead down some different roads. And so I think it's really important to have an option that is a bit more objective, that is coming at it from like just a different lens than that.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I listened to some podcasts with some of my guests that they've done elsewhere, some videos that they've done elsewhere, lectures that they've done elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I soon realized that the questions that I am asking as a woman,
Mm-hmm.
they're pretty different from some of the questions that they usually get asked.
I can imagine.
Yeah. There's a lot more focus. For instance, I really want to know what happens to civilians
Mm-hmm.
when all of these wars are happening. I'm less interested in the great generals and their wonderful deeds, yada yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a general, I kill loads of people. Yeah, great. I want to know more about the aftermath, the ripple effect of how it affects ordinary people, women,
Mm-hmm.
children. Because, looking around the world now,
Mm-hmm.
we're living in a period which is really interesting in a way because we get access to the experiences of these civilians in
Mm-hmm.
war zones far more than anyone else ever has. And because we're seeing it in our phones, doom scrolling every single day, seeing all of this, it does bring up questions. Well, what was it like in the ancient world?
Yeah.
How did they treat women and children? I'm not going to tell you that the answer is always particularly pleasant or something that we should be emulating.
Mm-hmm.
But I think again, it's looking at history that's been talked about a lot before, but from a slightly different angle to get a slightly different perspective, which is something that I'm really proud of with the military history episodes.
Yeah, I imagine that's where it really stands out.
We've also got literature episodes, which I'm calling creation, content, context, because every single
Mm.
episode is going to cover all of them. So, why was this play or poem written?
Mhm.
Basic summary of the synopsis and the characters. Where have we seen them before? Is this a sequel? Is it a retelling? What's happening? And then why was it written? Who was it written for? The intended audience? What are the things that are happening around the writer at the time that are influencing what they're writing? Is he trying to give you a message? That kind of thing.
Mhm.
We've got biographies of famous and infamous people, and I'm very proud to say, including in the first series, we have a biography of a very famous Roman woman. I say famous, she should be more well known, Fulvia.
Ooh. Oh,
Excellent,
Fulvia.
amazing episode with Jane
I
Draycott.
was gonna say, is it with Jane Draycott? I certainly hope so.
I
That will
love
be the
her.
3rd episode on Fulvia with Jane Draycott on the Memory Collective podcast network, and I love it for all of us. I'm willing to bet that we all get different things out of the conversation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We had a great discussion, so I'm really looking forward to that one coming out.
Yeah. I
We've
love the
got
commercials, and
some.
I like inadvertently dropped ours back to back. Like really, it's just funny.
We're going to have like blow by blow accounts of events that change the world. So not only what happens, but cause and effect and the aftermath. Again, the ripple effect. How is this
Yeah.
affecting the rest of the ancient world? Um,
Because it repeats itself, everyone.
it
History
does.
does, and the thing is that if we're always learning about it from the perspective of the people who didn't give a shit about the everyday people who were harmed, well, then we're never going to learn from anything.
Exactly. We've got some discussions about, so for instance, places. I'm going to be talking about different sites, different buildings, monument types, what they were used for, different cultural kind of practices and festivals,
That's
things like
really
that.
interesting.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's all going really well. I'm really excited because I essentially just get to have fun every single time we record an episode. It's just me listening,
Yeah.
going, "Oh my god, that's amazing!" Yeah, it's been fantastic so far. We've got a really varied bunch of episodes, which I'm so proud of. And what's really great is we have a really diverse group of experts as well.
Yeah. Any other favorites? I mean, obviously there's going to be lots, but I'm just curious about other episodes and also guests.
I mean, there is
A lot
so
of
much.
crossover with this show, I know.
There's so many, mainly because I've gone a bit doolally and recorded so many in
No,
advance.
like a
Um,
year's worth. I'm so jealous.
yeah, I've got enough episodes up until the beginning of October, I think. So
Obsessed.
yeah, it's a lot.
Oh, it's gonna be so good.
I have a great episode with Mike Beer talking about Augustus.
Mm.
Because we've got all of these kind of misconceptions about Augustus, and Mike explains that there's a different Augustus for every person who's looking at him. So
Ooh.
you can take what you want from Augustus, and he kind of seems to have built this into his personality deliberately so that he is everything to everyone, which was a really interesting way of putting it. And
Mhm.
one of the things that I wanted this show to do was to talk about people who don't get enough attention, like Fulvia. But as Mike says, you cannot understand a single Roman emperor without having an understanding of Augustus first, because every single emperor was either trying to be a copy paste or to do things radically different. So if you don't
Mhm.
understand Augustus first, you cannot understand any Roman emperor. And I thought that was a really good point that he made.
Yeah.
Makes
Yeah, because
perfect
he was like the
sense.
blueprint.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you're going to understand what a
Well,
Roman
then
emperor is,
Caesar
you've
was
got to go back
really
to the source, right?
yeah. Yeah. No, that's I mean, that's very, I was gonna say that's very interesting, and I feel like I've said that 1,000 times, so instead, I'm just gonna let you keep going. Do you have do you have more episodes? I'm just thinking of another, like, few to name drop for people of what's coming, like, topic-wise or guests.
Okay, so I had a great episode about the gods in epic poetry with Laura Jenkinson Brown,
Ooh, friend of the show.
friend of the show. Yeah, she's fantastic. And she's also going to be doing an episode for me in the near future about how epics are built as well.
Mm.
So that when we go to read them and study them, we can say, ah, yes, I know exactly what that motif is there to do. I know what this style is called. Understanding how the genre was written, I think, is a really important thing to have. So, we're going to
Yeah.
have a basic episode explaining some of the terminology, for instance, like what is kleos, what is anostos.
Mm.
So, that's going to be really fantastic. Really looking forward to that
Mhm.
one as well. Yeah, there's so much. That first Punic War with Brett Devereaux is fantastic
Ooh.
because at some point in the middle, I just go bananas because he mentions chickens. One of my favorite stories. I was kind of sat there waiting for Brett say the chicken story, say the chicken story, and he said it. I was like, yes. So there's that.
There's a chicken story. That's exciting.
Yeah, you'll have to tune in.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
not giving any spoilers on that
No, I
one.
won't even
Tune
ask.
in. Oh my god, seasick chickens! It's amazing. And
Okay.
there's an awesome episode with Rule Kaneinendijk
Mhm.
who talks me through the 30 tyrants that ruled in Athens just after the end of the Peloponnesian War, and about
Oh.
how Athenians were able to rise up in rebellion, defeat those 30 tyrants, and take their democracy back. And if that isn't 100% relevant
I think it's
to the
somewhat
world right
relevant.
now, I mean,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's inspirational, it's aspirational. It's a really interesting way of looking at democracy and how fragile it is, but how much it needs to be fought for and defended.
Yeah.
And also, one of my favorite points that Rule made was that the Athenians managed to win their democracy back with the help of foreign immigrants.
Do you hear that, America?
Boom, mic drop.
Do you hear it?
So
I know
that,
everyone listening probably already knows, but still.
I mean, yeah. And again, this is a period, I mean, for a lot of people who are studying ancient history at university, they'll do a lot of 5th century
Mm,
Athens. But
because it's the best century.
I mean, it is the best century. There's so much happening. But right at the end of it, a lot of courses, a lot of classes kind of cut off before the 30 tyrants.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Because I really like the 5th century.
5th century rules, but what I'm learning from my guests is that 4th century was also pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
And again, this is all stuff that it doesn't get enough attention, not just in university classrooms, but there aren't documentaries about 4th century Greek world.
Mhm.
There are about Alexander, but what happened between the Peloponnesian War and Alexander? Well, thankfully, I'm going to have loads of episodes explaining exactly what is happening in between.
Well, and that is what is so exciting about the fact that, we have this technology to that anybody, an expert like yourself who wants to can just start sharing it, because that's the thing about, documentaries is that they are so rarely are on the things that we really want to learn about, because in order for them to get greenlit, they have to be the thing that, like, however many thousands and tens of thousands and people want to watch it, but or what they imagine they want to watch. And so it's
Yeah.
always like Cleopatra and Alexander and Titanic and
Yeah,
like,
Julius Caesar. And I mean, in the
yeah.
UK, I think in the last 12 months, I think we've had something like 7 Pompeii documentaries
Wow. Yeah. Yeah,
and
people love it. Yeah.
nothing else.
No, exactly. And like there's just so much else, and that's what like a podcast like this is so good for and cool, when people want to just put it out there.
I mean, I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent because I want to talk about, oh, what's her name? Dakota Johnson, the
Mm.
actress,
Mhm.
because she was talking about one of the shows that she was in. I think it was a Marvel show because everything's a Marvel show now.
Yeah, she was in a
And
notoriously terrible Marvel one. I did not see it. I just
something
heard that
about
it was,
spiders. I don't know.
yeah, Madam Web. I think I've heard it's like one of the worst they've ever made. I don't know anything else.
But it was the quote that she said sometime in the press tour that really grabs my attention, is that shows like that now are made by committee. They're trying
Mm,
to uh, create shows for algorithms. They're dumbing down shows because people are scrolling through phones while watching them. So you have to make everything really simple and repeat yourself over and over again. And I thought,
yeah.
yeah, because that is what is happening in a lot of
Yeah.
television documentaries right now. And I grew up watching documentaries all the time. It was one of my main ways of engaging with the ancient world. I've seen their decline. You turn on the TV now, and everything is some pseudo archaeologist saying, "Oh, it was aliens,"
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
"Yes, of course, Atlantis definitely existed, and we're not going to give you any information about why that's you know not true."
Mhm.
Because I think producers are patronizing and they assume that the audience is not intelligent enough to appreciate a wide variety of topics, that they won't appreciate nuance and context. And we know that this isn't true.
No, it's the capitalism too, though, right? It's they just want the thing that can make the most money the fastest.
Yeah.
And that's why something like that goes through. But you're right, like, people want the other stuff. It's just that the companies think they'll have to work harder for it.
I think one of the reasons that I really wanted to start the show was because in the last year or so, I actually managed to achieve one of my lifelong ambitions, which is to be a guest expert on a TV documentary.
Hell yeah.
And I'm not going to mention the title of it because I don't want anyone to watch it, but it was something that was it's my research niche. I'm literally doing
Mhm.
academic research on it right now. And they sat me down for the interview and they said, we want context. You know, if this is a myth, if this is a misconception, you tell us. We can
Mhm.
deal with it. We want to be honest with our audience. So
Oh
I sat
god.
down for about 4 hours and I talked context because that's my job. And the documentary came out and they had cut my part down to about 90 seconds where I say something almost pointless.
Ugh.
And then they got a load of academics who don't study that area to just speculate wildly. And I
Ugh.
realized that it's because they don't want the truth, because they
No, they
think that
want
the audience can't handle it. They can't handle a discussion where we disappoint them by saying this myth isn't true. Sorry.
yeah, they just think that they won't. I mean, I really unfortunately think it just keeps coming down to the money, right?
Yeah.
Because they just think that that doesn't sell, and you're like, "That's fucking stupid." Like,
Yeah. I was so disappointed because I'd been sold on this idea that,
yeah.
yes, we want your expertise. We want you to give a nuanced point of view. And they cut everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was one expert on the show who I adore and did a very good job. The others, mm, um, it was just, speculation and we think this could have happened and we're going to blow it out of proportion so that we give you this kind of distorted, idealized view of what we think the audience wants. And then the very next day after I recorded that, I gave a lecture at a museum on exactly the same topic. And I
Mm.
gave them all of the context and I gave them all of the nuance, and they loved it.
Mhm.
And that's when I realized the producers of TV shows, and to some extent the publishers of books that we see in
Mhm.
bookstores, for the general public, they're patronizing and
Mhm.
they are so oh, it's disappointing to see
Mhm.
that they assume that the audience has no imagination, no intelligence, that they can't handle a wide variety of topics. They know that Julius Caesar sells, so they just give us Julius Caesar over and
Mhm.
over and over again, same with Pompeii over and over, Atlantis
Mhm.
over and over again because they've seen it sell in
Sparta.
the past, so it's going to sell again, right? So I thought to myself, if no one is going to invite me to do a documentary like that for television, how else can I do it where I have
Mhm.
control over what I'm saying and where I can make sure that there's some level of quality control with academic integrity?
Yeah.
Because my God, I can't watch TV documentaries now.
No, I've given up on it. I mean, I was never that big into them because they're too slow for my brain. I need to be able to, like, rush
Yeah.
through everything. Um, but even still, like, the few, I just feel like it's all dragged out to just the and still not even. I mean, I guess I just haven't tried to watch historical ones either, but there was a time when I was in very early stages talks with a big documentary network. and they were saying that they wanted a show and whatever, and then every time I pitch an idea, they'd be like, well, is it, there's just like, is there big like some mystery that could be solved, or like some dumb, and I was just like, no, this is like clearly not, you don't want what
Yeah,
I'm going to do. Like, I'm not going to give
yeah,
you a big mystery, because there aren't any that like are the thing that you want, because that's pseudo history and pseudoscience,
exactly. Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
But
It's people always say like, they conspiracy theorists love to say like the scientists don't want you to know, and it's like every time you talk to a real
yeah,
scientist, no, scientists actually desperately want you to know
they
what they
will not shut up about it if you just let them talk, right?
know. Like,
And
if
it's,
the conspiracy involves an academic hiding research from you, it's a lie. It's bullshit.
yeah, exactly. And there's the other side of the coin as well, is that in my country, I'm from Great Britain,
Mm-hmm.
there's a very specific idea of who an ancient historian is, which is incredibly posh. And you only went to Oxford or Cambridge, which we know as Oxbridge colloquially.
Mm.
Um, that you're really posh, you have a cut class English accent, you're upper class, and that's who an ancient historian is, which is kind of true in a way, because where I live, it's very rare for ancient history to be taught in schools past the age of about 9, which then knock on effect makes it very difficult for people to find it at university because they won't have the relevant qualifications from high school. And that knock on effect also means that the kids that go to very private schools that cost thousands of pounds a year to go to, they're the only ones getting access to this topic. They're the only ones getting experience in this topic. They dominate in university classrooms, and then they dominate in the faculty. And talking with all of the friends that I've made as I've been studying and working, there are so many historians that don't fit that mold, but who have such wonderful, vital things that they want to say. Well, if the big channels and the big publishers aren't going to let them say it, then I will.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a smaller platform, maybe, at least to start off with, but my God, there is no one way for an ancient historian to be. We are so many identities, so many backgrounds, so many walks of life, just like the ancient world was, for instance. So, one of the things that I really want to do is try and provide a space for people with regional accents, people from the working class, people from all genders and sexualities and ethnicities that don't normally get a platform. Sod it, I'll give you a platform. I want to give you a platform, and I don't want to give a platform to people who we hear from all the time anyway, because you can hear them anywhere.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's, especially I know in the UK, there's like the same four names over and over. So it's kind of
I
nice
mean,
to,
I'd go as far as to say that those 4 names are down to 3 now.
I was gonna say I'm not sure I could name out four, but
Yeah, it's bad. And again, it comes down to the people who are organising these documentaries and books and talks, assuming that people will only spend money on purchasing tickets and books, etc., if they recognise the name of the historian
hmm
and not what they're talking about,
hmm
which to me is the wrong way round. It shouldn't matter if you know who the historian is, if what you're interested in should be what they're talking about, not who's doing the talking.
hmm
But again, it's the assumption that if you don't have some kind of familiarity with who's talking, then they're not going to part with any money.
Yeah, I mean, it's this. Yeah, it's the capitalism. It's everything.
Yeah.
I could keep saying it over and over, but yeah, it's just this idea of like what does and doesn't sell, and how everything has to be about the maximum revenue rather than quality of anything else.
Yeah.
And it's just unfortunate. But thankfully there are still podcasts, even though the celebrities are dominating here too. There
Yeah.
are still podcasts, and we all can, we can share this information, and that is super
Yeah.
cool. And yeah, I
So
mean,
one of the things that I'm proud of is that we have some of the guests are people that you will maybe know the names of,
mhm.
and I admire them greatly. They do great public work. They have a lot of integrity, and I am very happy to have them on the show and very grateful that they've donated their time. But we've also got historians that you will have never heard of that are very early on in their careers, maybe. And also, it's really interesting because there are so many PhD students and recent PhDs, and there aren't enough jobs for them all in universities. So where do they go after if they don't get one of the very few jobs? And it's like the academic Hunger Games.
Mm-hmm.
You're losing all of this knowledge, all of this expertise because it's got nowhere to go. Well, I'll have it. I'll have you on to talk about the show. So we have people who are in what we call alternative academia, which is where they're doing jobs that aren't necessarily teaching, but they are still researching and producing exceptional work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what we would call being a university lecturer, but my God, these people are still experts. They still are wonderful speakers. So yeah, let's have you on as well. So it's breaking the mold of who an expert is. And it's not always someone of, advanced age who has an oak panelled office somewhere,
Who's white.
white, posh, went to an exceptionally posh school full of other posh people. I can't stand that idea that that is all an ancient historian is. It's just lazy. and
Mm-hmm.
and it excludes so many wonderful people. So I am absolutely delighted that I'm going to be able to introduce people to these wonderful historians, archaeologists, museum professionals that you might not ever hear of otherwise, because the academic writing that they're doing maybe isn't targeted at a general audience, but these episodes definitely are.
Well, and that is the best thing about having on people like this in at that point in their career specifically too, because I mean there is so much new knowledge all the time, and it is so hard to find too. Like from obviously from the perspective of the academics, it's a great outlet, but also just as a listener, like there's so much to learn, but unless you have like your personal account to like to JSTOR or something, like you're
Yeah.
really not getting access to things, and that's why I love the conversations on my show. And so I'm just excited because you're basically doing, I mean, that with like more structure and and like
Yeah.
more thought out. And it's very exciting. I think it's going to be very fun. And I know that especially listeners of my show are going to be very keen to tune in.
I hope so. If only because we talk about Rome too, Liv. Rome matters.
I know
Okay.
everyone else likes Rome, which is why other people can talk about it.
I love Rome.
I know.
I can't choose between Greece and Rome. It's like asking me to choose my favourite leg. I can't do it.
Some
Okay.
can't. I can. And I have and I do.
Do you have a favourite leg though?
Leg? No, Greece and Rome.
Exactly. Right.
I mean, if I
Okay.
had to pick a leg, sure. I will pick the one that has Medusa tattooed on it. Tattoos make things easier.
See,
Boom.
even there you're going the Greek way.
I have a minotaur. I have the bull Rhiton on my other leg. Thank you very much.
Okay, fair enough. I'll let you off.
I have Greek on both sides of my body. And actually some Latin. My second tattoo ever was terribly translated Latin. So
Oh, I mean,
you're welcome.
if I had a penny for every historian I met with a badly translated or odd tattoo, I'd be a millionaire. So it's fine.
I mean, yeah, in my defense, it was like 21 years ago. So she made poorer decisions back then, and respect.
There you go.
Yeah. My very first tattoo was an Egyptian thing. So the Greek came quite late. In any case, this is not Liv's tattoo hour. I'm so excited for the show, Ancient History 101. I mean, I feel like you explained everything so beautifully and said so many nice things. Is there anything else you wanted to tell the listeners, other than obviously where to find it? And now I have a bubble in my throat, so take it away.
So you can find us online, ancienthistory101.org. We are launching on the Ides of March, which by the time this comes out, it will have gone anyway. We have launched.
You will
Come
have
and
already
find
heard
us.
another episode on my podcast, so you'll be
Yeah.
aware.
Yeah. Um, And one of the great things about the website as well is that every episode will have its own page where each of our experts will have told us where we can do some further research and further reading and recommend some books and even performances of some of the plays. They will recommend adaptations and video games and movies,
Oh,
novels.
I love this. This is logistically stuff that I've wanted to do forever, but been completely incapable. So excited that you've managed it. This is exciting.
I mean, when I lock into something,
I
I
know I
do
love it.
tend to go off on the deep end.
This is amazing.
But yeah, it's going to be good. I'm having a load of fun, so I can only guess that everyone else will enjoy listening as well. And it's for anyone who just wants to know a little bit more than just the stories.
Yeah.
Stories are important, but I think it's just as important to understand the context behind the stories, whether we can work out whether these stories even happened the way that that we think that they
Mhm.
did. How do we work out what actually happened? Because we certainly can't take any of the ancient writers for. I mean, some of the things that they've said, it ain't
They were
true.
all being completely honest. I don't know what you're talking about. Absolutely.
We can take absolutely nothing at face value. And one of the best things about every single contributor so far, all of these wonderful experts have absolutely understood that they need to tell us a bit about why we can't take anything at face value and to teach us how to read between the lines, which
That's
I'm
my
really proud
favorite
of.
my favorite thing about, like, being this deep in the study of the ancient world is just all of those little extra contextual bits and pieces, and, like, ugh, I'm very excited.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of people who tell the stories as narratives very well, and they're very entertaining. And if you want to listen to that, that's great. You can go and find them. But for those of us who have always kind of wanted to go inside Willy Wonka's chocolate factory and see how it all gets made, this is a kind of a way to do that and see how a historian works, some of the methods and processes, and how we come to the conclusions that we come to. And one of the favourite quotes from all of the episodes actually comes from episode 1, Dan Stewart, where he says, if you get 5 ancient historians in a room, you will end up with 7 conclusions. Which I love. I love
Mhm.
that. It makes it endlessly fascinating because
Yeah.
there I think sometimes people assume that historians have one answer to every question
Oh
and
my god.
one set account of how everything happened and why. But we don't. And there's loads that
No.
we don't know, and there's loads of different opinions, which means that we're never finished talking about it. That's the fun bit because we're
That's what
always coming up with new perspectives, new arguments. We're never finished.
That has always been my favorite part, and I think that is absolutely, and especially, like, going back to documentaries and things, like, that's the thing that gets left on the cutting room floor immediately, right?
Yeah.
Because they're like, "Well, we have to fit everything into 2 hours." You're gonna lose all of that, like, uncertainty and the context, and I love the uncertainty. Like, I think it's so much more interesting to understand why we don't know completely, or, like, why we don't know every detail, or all of these different things, because it is like the reality and it just adds so much more. So I'm excited that, I mean, that's again the great thing about a podcast like yours is going to be that you can devote that time because you're not, dealing with producers telling you how much time you do or do not have, or, like I mean, it's like my show. There's never a cutting room floor, anything left on the cutting room floor, because I'm like, well, if did we talk for an hour and a half? Great. You're getting an hour and a half episode, because, like, I don't need to cut
Exactly.
anything.
Yeah.
Why? Like, you want to hear it? It was interesting. What? I'm going to, like, I don't want to cut anything out. No. And I think that's the fun of having a podcast, and especially having one that is just conversational and a bit more casual in that way, because there is no need to have everything like smoothly turned into something that, could be straight out of TV. Like, you don't need that. It's less real. This way we get the
Yeah.
facts and the reality and the, like, yeah, it's just so much more interesting. I'm obsessed.
And the great thing about it is that whenever you get to grips with what the reality, what's closer to the reality, and you find out which little anecdotes and weird stories are true.
Mm-hmm.
It makes them so much better. It makes them...
Yeah.
Because you can, if you want to cling to the idea of myths, then yeah, okay, fine. Join all of the...
Hey. Watch it.
Not those myths, the misconceptions.
Okay.
Misconceptions, let's say. If you want to cling to those, that's fine. And there are groups that will happily cling to them and perpetuate all of these, misunderstood ideas. Fine. But I think when you get a proper handle on the topic, and then you hear these stories that we think are true and happened as they are written, it makes them so much cooler. So much cooler.
Yeah.
And my God, I mean, we've got context, we've got nuance, but we've also got orgies, we've got X-rated poetry, we've got affairs, we've got assassination plots. I mean, it's all still in there.
I mean, good. Leaving the exciting bits to the very end. My God.
Of course. Yeah, but we've also got, source analysis and historiography. What is historiography? We'll be explaining that as well. All of these things that are pretty essential to the history, but aren't necessarily included in what's aimed at the general public, which I think is really rude.
Yeah. Well, this is what you're here for. And so,
Yeah.
that's all there is to it. So, yeah, I will link to everything in the episode's description to the new show and all of that. So I hope you've all already gone there and subscribed. I hope that you did after the Owen Reese episode came out, but if it took you this long, that's fine too. You can head over there right now. Ancient History 101 and links and such in the various places.
Smooth. I like it.
I'm a professional. I'm an adult professional. Nerds, thank you as always. Again, I'm going to keep the credits short and sweet because my brain is mush and I just want this out to you all. Let's Talk About Myths, Baby is written and produced by me, Liv Albert. Michaela Pankowish is the Hermes to my Olympians, my incredible producer. Select music is by Luke Chaos. The podcast is part of the Memory Collective Podcast Network, and we are bringing you new and fun things like Ancient History 101 and You Are Odysseus, the new interactive audiobook choose your own adventure vibes from the amazing mind behind Greek myth comics, Laura Jenkinson Brown. Find everything. Oh, I haven't updated the Memory Collective website yet, but I will really soon. And until then, you can find them at the various links in the various descriptions. Thank you ever so much. I am Liv, and I truly do love this shit.